What is up, Skate Rat? So today I am challenging myself, but I'm also explaining kind of how my mind works in my normal daily life and how that kind of bleeds into my skating. Because my personality of who I actually am, like imbued in my DNA, is also how I skate. And a lot of people seem to kind of get confused when I first start to explain it, and then they kind of get surprised when I finish. So in the past 11 years of filming YouTube, I've created somewhere around 24 to 2,500 videos between my channels, YouTube, Instagram, and between the companies I worked with, etc. About 2,500 videos. About 90% of my videos have been me specifically learning a new trick each session or multiple tricks each session. I do a lot less edits. I don't do me doing a crooked grind a bunch of times. Obviously, that has appeared in a bunch of videos, but I prefer to specifically learn something new every single session that I can. So that equates out to somewhere around 2,200 tricks in the last 11 years. And then if we take the amount of skating I did prior to actually doing social media, it's a fair number to say around 2,250 or 2,300 tricks in 15 years, which is insane to say over 2,000 tricks learned. Now, of course, that includes variations and tricks I created and so on and so forth. But that is how I like to skate, and that's also why out of all the trades that I'm skilled in, I chose mechanics, because it is something new every single day. It kind of challenges me and makes me figure that stuff out as I go. So, what does this mean for today's challenge? Well, the fact that I never actually truly practice something, I don't do it a million times until I can do it first try. I do it once. I remember my foot position. So if you named one of those 2,000 tricks, I can tell you where the foot position is. I might not be able to remember every single trick I did, but if you say to me, have you done this before? Oh yes, I know exactly where that foot position is. I'll also remember my weight distribution for all the tricks. And then the rest of it, it takes me 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 tries, and muscle memory just kicks in. And the second I land one, which might take 20, 30 tries, I usually can just do them rapid fire over and over and over again. So when you see me do like a crook trick, I pretty much do like crooked grind, crook fakie, crook shove. And then it's like, by the time I get done with that, my brain knows exactly how to do perfect crooked grinds. I can hold them for a super long time. But it's kind of rare to see me do something first try because I don't really put in the effort to get that consistent at it. So back to the challenge. This right here is a list of, I think there's 27 tricks. I know it's hard to read right here. Trust me, I'll make sure when I draw them that they're more readable. But this is every tech trick I've done. So this entire column is filled, and then to here is filled. This is every tech trick I've done this winter. And I believe there's 28 of them. And I'm going to cut these up, throw them in a bag, mix them all around, and I'm going to choose 5 of them. And we're going to see if we can land all 5 in 2 hours I have left in this session at max. So how well does my method of skating work in comparison to someone who does the same trick 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times over? So we're going to get this cut up, and we're going to jump into this. Okay, so I got my little pile here cut up, and you can see they all obviously have writing, so big spin front board. And there is ones in here that I imagine I can do within 5 tries, and ones that, to be honest, I really don't want to draw. Like kickflip front board took 2 sessions, I think, and it's not really even a muscle memory thing. It's just being able to catch the board and set it down in a perfectly balanced state. So let's get a bag, and let's draw our 5. All right, I got my bag. We're going to shake this thing all around. We're going to mix it around with my hand. I want this to be as fair as possible. I'm going to draw 5 of them, and I'm not even going to look at them just yet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 fell out. So that makes 5. Okay, so the first one here we have 5-0 front shove. So this one I remember being fairly easy. It took me about 15 minutes to land 3 of them. So hopefully I have the same luck today. Hurricane to tail. I remember that this one is a little bit hard to slide because of the length of my ledge. So it might end up being a little bit more of a stall, but should be doable. Fakie shove lip. Honestly, I recently did all the shove lips, and fakie is the hardest one for me to do, but still, I think we can achieve that in one session. Nollie shove lip. This one is not hard to land. It's really hard to pop. So I'm probably going to have to skate my board backwards specifically to pop off the tail. So I get a solid pop. And then half cab lip body varial. This one really isn't that difficult once I kind of regain the muscle memory of being able to pull out my board from the back wheels. So I think we're going to go through the half cab lip first. Then we're going to go through the shove lips. From there, we'll probably move on to 5-0 front shove, finishing up on the hurricane tail. I'm going to take yesterday as a win. Obviously, I didn't land everything how I would want to land it, but there ended up being some outside factors that turned this from just like a skate park challenge to actually feeling like I was skating legitimate street spots. But the first half of the session went really well, and then it started to kind of go downhill from there for these three specific factors. So the first one is it took me 14 minutes to do the half cab lip slide body varial. And the reason it took me 14 minutes is, if you guys don't know, I skate rails, and I spent the first 10 minutes just sticking on the ledge, and I kept waxing the ledge and trying to figure out why I was sticking, and it's because I'm at the screw right here where I do a lot of my slides. So once I realized that, it took about 10 minutes, I flipped my board around, and then it truthfully only took me about 4 minutes to do it, but 14 minutes total. Knowing that, and knowing that the next two tricks were going to be slide tricks, all I had to do was like plan where my board had to be, because they were shoved. So, you know, I'm gonna pull my board in this direction or in this direction. And then it took me 10 minutes to do fakie, and then it took me 8 minutes to do nollie, which I'll say on my papers, I believe I wrote them down as lip slides because it's a similar trick to a pop shove at lip. But my mistake, it is fakie shove to switch front board and nollie shove to regular front board. So I'm gonna correct myself right there because I think I just wrote those down a little too quickly. But it's at that point where I was like on cloud nine. It was a total of 32 minutes to do those three tricks, and I was feeling so good. And 5-0s is something that it takes me a few tries to get that muscle memory, but once I get them, I just start doing them. And it's something that obviously makes me happy because you guys know a couple of months ago, I was insanely bad at 5-0s. But this is where factor 2 came in. So I ride for Grind King trucks, but I'm specifically a tester for them, meaning that it's my job to try to break the trucks, meaning that they are insanely worn in. So if you can see by my camera, you can see by my wheel there how cut in I am. So my trucks are actually so ground down that even though my screws are recessed into my angle iron, I was somehow still catching them, and I would get tries that look like this. So when I was trying to do the shove out, because I do this with a medium speed, I'm not going super fast, I'm not going super slow, just like a nice medium speed, my screws are a foot apart, meaning that when I would start to throw that shove travels down the coping like 5, 6, 7 inches, depending on the speed you're going. So after 36 minutes, it was kind of like, you know what, just go slow and tic-tac out of it. You know, just move on, because I was so frustrated from catching the screws over and over and over and over again. And even the heads of the screws are so worn down that I can't really screw them in anymore. So that kind of started to drive me insane. But I landed the one, I tic-tacked away, and I was cool with it. No toe drags in that, not as clean as possible. But in my mind, it's like, move on to the next trick. And then my phone dies. So this is factor 3 that messed with me hardcore. My phone dies, but it's not a big deal. I have a charger in here. So right up here is my charger, but you can tell that it only comes down to about here. I've just been too cheap to buy a longer cable. So that's why that angle was like up overhead. I sat you guys up on this ladder and I started filming. And I landed a couple of them, just not super clean. I knew I probably wasn't gonna slide the tail slide because it is really hard on such a short ledge to be able to really get the speed you would need for it, plus get a really good slide. I've only done the slide one time. The rest of the times I've done it, I just kind of like stuck and fell out of it. But I wanted to at least get it clean, even if there was no slide. And factor 3 was the fact that my phone just kept dying. And I would let it charge a couple of percent and then it would die again. So finally in the end, I'm like, let's turn the brightness all the way down. Let's throw it in airplane mode. I'm gonna get this. And I let it charge to like 2% and I immediately land it perfect. I landed so clean that I was so hyped. There was a slide. Oh, I felt great. And I run over, my phone is still recording, and I shut it off, and I want to watch it, right? Because I'm so hyped on this. And the file's corrupted. I've never had a corrupted file on my phone, and I ended up getting a warning message stating that the camera was shut down because the battery life was so low. And I'm guessing it's because it kept dying and I kept turning it back on that I just drained as much as the battery as possible. So obviously my camera is working once again, but the only thing I actually got from the clip was the audio. If you're curious, that's what a super clean one sounds like, which is really frustrating and really annoying. But I'm going to take this as a win. I did land everything. I was able to do it without toe drags. I wish I did it with no Tic Tacs, but it is what it is. I didn't want to take this video into a second day. The whole purpose was trying to get it all done in one session. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And as always, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Have a great day and keep pushing forward, guys.